Okay, hey you guys, welcome to our phase 2 first video. So I'm going to start by looking at question 1 from the handout posted on Google Classroom called phase 2 initial percent review. Okay, so I'll read the question. It says, Stella is training for a triathlon. At the start of the summer, she can swim 40 laps of the Queensboro Community College pool in 1 hour. Over the course of the summer, she increases this distance by 15%. How many laps is Stella swimming per hour by the end of the summer? Okay, so since this is a review, we already know that we have a number of ways, or 2 ways that we've learned in phase 1 to handle percents. One was the out of every 100 method, and the other was the benchmark method. Given the number here, that her starting number or her number of swimming laps that she can do is 40. Is it possible to use the out of every 100 method? Well, remember, the out of every 100 method uses groups of 100, and we don't even have 100 here. We only have 40. So would the out of every 100 method be the best method for this question? No, because we don't have any hundreds here. We just have 40. Okay, so in this situation, the best method would most likely be the benchmark method. Okay, so in the benchmark method, we typically start off with a table. So I'm making a table, and in that table we start off with the starting amount. So I'm writing SA as we've done in the past. S is the starting, A is amount, so starting amount. Okay, so according to this question, at the start of the summer she can swim 40 laps. So the starting amount would be 40. Okay, and it says over the course of the summer she increased this distance by 15%, and they want to know how many laps is Stella swimming by the end of the summer. Okay, so she increased her amount by this amount, so by the end of the summer she's swimming 40 laps in addition to whatever this amount is. Okay, so how do we find out what this amount is? How do we think of 15%? Are there any percents that we do know already that could help us find or achieve 15%? Well, according to the benchmark method, we typically use other percents to help us get to the percent that we want. So if we want to find 15%, if we remember from phase 1, we thought of 15% as 10%, which we know how to find, plus 5%, which we also can find. Okay, so if we could find 10% and then we could find 5%, then we can add those percents to get 15%. So this is how we can think of 15% going forward. Okay, so if we want to find that, because that's what the question asks for, let's first find these. So let's first find 10%, and then after that we can find 5%. Okay, so how do we think of 10%? What is 10% of 40? Well, again, if we remember from phase 1, we think of 10% by, or we could find 10% of numbers like these by removing the last 0 from the starting amount. Okay, so we could find 10% by removing the last 0 from the starting amount. So if this 40 is the starting amount and we remove the last 0 from that, what would that amount be? That amount would be 4. So what is that saying? That means 4 is 10% of 40. Okay, but that's not the percent we were looking for. We were looking for 15%. So let's keep going. Now we need to find 5% of this amount. Okay, and how do we think about 5%? Well, we think about 5%, or we could find 5% as half of 10%. Okay, that's how we think about 5%. Well, that means to find 5%, we need to know 10% first, and we found 10% already. So if 10% is 4, then the 5%, which is half of that, would be half of this amount. So what is half of 4? 2. Nice. Okay, so now that means 2 is 5% of 40. Okay, so what do we do now? How do we find 15%? Because that's what we really want. We want 15% of 40 according to the question, not these. We just use, so this 10% and this 5% was our benchmarks. These are the things that we used to help us to get to that. Okay, so combining these two together and finding these 2% of 40 will help us to gain the 15% of this 40. Okay, so that would be 4 plus 2. That 10% of 40 and that 5% of 40 together will give us that 15% of 40, and that would be 6. So what does this 6 represent according to this question? Well, according to this question, it says over the summer she increased that amount by 15%. So it's saying that the 15% represents the increase. How much of an increase? A 15% increase. So this is a 15% increase in the amount of laps that, or distance that she swam. Okay, so what is the question asking for? So they want to know how many laps did Stella swim by the end of the summer. So this is how much she increased during the summer. Okay, so at the end of the summer, how can I show that increase that took place? So what operation would indicate an increase? Addition. Okay, so she increased by 6 laps. Okay, so she started out doing 40 laps and increased by 6 laps. How many laps could she swim by the end of the summer? Okay, so that means adding these two, we would get 46. So this would be the total distance or amount of laps Stella swims by end of summer. Okay, and there you have it. I'll come back with more.